So, hello everyone to the Cinder meeting, last meeting of the month, which we keep in video plus IRC mode, which were ways comfortable for you to discuss your topics. Um, I will just start with few announcements. So, we have the mid-cycle coming up next week, which is at the same time of our Cinder meeting plus one extra hour. So, it will be from 1400 to 1600 UTC next Wednesday, which is on 1st June. There is an Etherpad for all the topics. Here's the link in the meeting on channel. So please add your topics. Want them to be discussed. The next announcement is regarding the Festival of Access reviews. So we keep this on the third Friday of every month, but last week a lot of people were on leave, so we discussed to move it this week. So we are having that on Friday, on 27th, and uh, make sure you join that. It is also 2 hours. I think it's from 1300 to 1500 UTC. And I will just again paste the link of the Etherpad in the channel. That's all for announcements from my side. Does anyone have anything else? Yes, not. We can get started with the topics then. First topic is by Romer. I'm not sure if that's your arsenic or your real name as well. So
Hi, yeah, it is an arsenic. My name is Peter Penchev, and I am the maintainer of the store pool storage driver. So, thing is, we recently came across a problem when using Glance's Cinder client to put Glance images on Cinder volumes. And the problem was that sometimes Glance would not be able to clone store pool volume efficiently. It would not invoke the Cinder drivers, the Cinder store pool drivers create clone volume method. But anyway, I think that this may be a separate bug. This is just background for the reason for what I am now proposing. The thing is, some time ago there was another bug fix that was related to the way that Glance stored the metadata about Cinder volume IDs. There is a method, a hidden method currently that is that extracts the volume ID from the Cinder image URL. It is in one of the volume flow files. It is in the create volume flow of the manager, in the volume flows manager create volume. And the thing is, we would like to add a clone image function to the store pool driver so that the image can be cloned efficiently using the store pool API without regard to some other things that Cinder checks, and it really does not need to in this case. But to do that, we need to be able to do exactly that, to extract the Cinder volume ID from the URL of the ground source image. So I wonder if it would be possible to expose this function this method so that other volume drivers could also use it if they needed to. And just a step back, okay, maybe this is too much information. Maybe I should have written something about that in. I have actually written parts of that in the commit messages in the changes that I just proposed that are visible in the IRC channel. But the thing is that if we try to use the standard flow, the standard way to create a Cinder volume from a glance image, and the glance image is stored on storepool storage on our shared storage system. Now, storepool supports different, we call them templates. They are basically volume types, and they are exposed in Cinder. In our Cinder driver, they are mostly exposed as volume types. That is the way you configure a volume type, you specify a storepool template for it to use. So if the glance images use one Cinder volume type, one template, and somebody tries to create a Cinder volume in another volume type, then there is a check. There is a check in the Cinder code that fails because it treats the volume type for some reason. It seems to treat either the volume type or the storepool template or something. I have to take a closer look, but for some reason it seems to treat that as the host to which the Cinder host to which the volume is attached. And since the target and destination values are different, since we are trying to create a volume into another volume type, this check fails. And this is the reason that we want to implement our own clone image function. And hence we, okay, I don't know if I made myself very clear, so I should just stop talking and let people ask questions.
I assume you're talking about the sorry, I was just asking
No,
like
go ahead, Roger.
yeah, the glance backend is Cinder, right?
Yes, we are using Cinder as a glance backend, yes.
Okay, and you might be aware that we call the clone volume function from the driver while doing this optimization. Like when we create a volume from an image, we use this like the same flow. You have the extracted Cinder IDs, and then we call the clone volume function of. I think
Yeah,
it
Roger.
might be.
But if I understand correctly, the problem is the store pool driver using different pools for those templates?
Yeah. Yes.
Then that's the
Actually.
problem. That the Cinder code will check the volume types and see these are different pools and assume that drivers cannot clone a volume between pools. And that's the problem. That is generally the case. A storage backend cannot just clone a volume efficiently if they are different pools.
Actually, we did come to that conclusion at first. I'm sorry, I had lost some of the context. I had simply forgotten some of that. I'm sorry about that. So yeah, one of the ways to fix that in the beginning, one of the ideas for us was to lose the idea of exposing store pool templates as Cinder pools, but that would actually interfere with the free space reporting, and it would also be an incompatible change. I mean, I had almost prepared a change that exposes all store pool volumes in the default pool, but that would mean that volumes that are created, that if an OpenStack cluster is upgraded, then the volumes that have been created before that will have a different value for the pool. And I realized that maybe that would need some kind of migration. So basically we decided to solve that in the easier way. And the easier way to solve that is, it turns out that before the check for the volume pools, Cinder invokes another method of the driver, a method that is called clone image. And if that method succeeds, everything is considered to be fine. So we decided to do that, as some other drivers also do. We decided to implement our clone image method. And the thing is, we need to do something in there to obtain the volume ID from the glance image URL, since it is encoded there. And yeah, basically that's it. It would be, it could be possible to modify the store pool driver so that it does not expose the volumes in different pools. And that might not be such a bad idea, but I'm really not sure what that would do if a cluster is upgraded. What would happen if a cluster is upgraded and some volumes have already been created, and at that time they were created in specific pools. So I think that implementing our own clone image function would be the easier solution, as some other drivers also do. And then we need to reuse, we would like to reuse some of the code that was already committed a couple of months ago to extract that ID.
The ID is extracted from the image metadata, right?
Yes.
And the image metadata is not passed to the drivers?
Well, it is passed, but that would be code duplication. That would be the thing is that the reason for the creation of that thing that is currently a method, and it doesn't, a static method, it doesn't need to be a static method. The only thing it does is basically analyze a URL. The reason for its existence is that Glance changed the format of that URL between versions, and it is 10 lines of code. It is no problem to duplicate it into our driver, but I just don't see the reason to duplicate code when it can be exposed, and especially if in the future Glance changes the URL format again. So that change would have to be duplicated everywhere once again.
So your proposal is to move that piece of code to a utils file or something like that?
Yes, let me see if I can actually if somebody can has access to the IRC channel, to the Cinder IRC channel right now, or to the review. So should I paste the link? Just a minute. Maybe I can paste the link in the chat session right here. Here, this is the link to the review.
Yeah, I mean, it should not be really controversial to move a method to a generic location. We do it all the time. When we realize, like you say, now every single driver needs to use this or will need to use this method, we move it. Or if Cinder has already retrieved that information somewhere else, we can pass it along, depending on the case.
So I still have one concern with the patch. I was looking into it. So we have this config option, allow direct URL streams, so basically the clone image method is for the backends that are supported on both Glance and the Cinder side. Like you can take example of RBD. Glance can set it to RBD and Cinder as well. So for those type of flows, it is useful. But for when the Glance backend is Cinder, we have created a config option that allows this sort of optimization for users, and it also disables them because not everybody wants to opt in for these optimizations. If you implement the clone image method, then this config option is not validated in that flow. So We would also like to check this config option if people have set it and then only do this optimization.
Okay, let me take a quick look.
I've pasted the link in the meeting, the line which checks this config option, and also the patch you have proposed.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I saw the link now. Let me take a quick look. I'm sorry, but the only link that I see is you link to my proposed change. Yeah, but what? Mm,
So on line 1054, I've mentioned that line. If you check, I can also paste a GitHub link for more clarity.
I'm not I'm not sure what exactly is the config option that you're referring to. I mean, because I just looked at the source of the RBD driver, and the RBD driver's clone image method does not check any config options at all. It does pretty much.
But it's not the configuration like so Glance sets back into RBD, and Cinder also sets it to RBD. So that's how the clone image works in that case. But in this case, we are setting Glance back into Cinder.
Yeah, oh yeah. But that's because Glance has a special RBD driver, and we decided not to do that because we decided that we could just get away with implementing a Cinder driver after people told us that the Glance Cinder client has been working for the past several releases, and yeah, we decided that that was probably the way to go. I mean, since there is a supported Cinder way for Glance to use a generic Cinder driver, maybe we should do that. Maybe we should not write store pool specific code in more OpenStack components than we need to. Then we, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just have a concern with the config option that needs to check before
Yeah, but
performing it.
can
I've
you show
pasted
me
another link.
what the config option is actually? Because you posted the second link. Let me take a look.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Right. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. I noticed that I made a note that I would look into what that does, and yeah. Okay, I will look into that. Thank you.
So I think the main idea is everyone doesn't want to opt into this optimizations. So it's just
Right.
so. Is there anything you would like to discuss regarding this topic?
I mean, if nobody else has any more comments, then yeah, it seems that there is no major objection to this, and I may even have wasted everyone's time by bringing it up since it is really not that controversial. So thank you, and yeah, I mean, that's all from me for now.
Well, I wouldn't say that it's not a controversial, considering that Rajat just raised a point of being uh, following the user request on the config option, right?
Yeah, but
So
I think there are two separate things here. I mean, first off, there is the store pool want to implement a clone image method and what it has to do in that clone image method, what checks it should perform in that clone image method. And the other one is should store pool duplicate the extraction of the glance image ID code. So basically, I'm saying that the change that I referred to as non-controversial was the idea of making that internal method visible in the image utils module, so that other drivers can also use it if they want to and with the proper checks. And the next change that I'm proposing, there is another review that adds a clone image method to the store pool driver, and there I shall indeed reflect Rajat's concern about checking the config option. Yes.
yeah, but I hadn't thought about the config option that Rajat mentioned. So I am inclined to think of an alternative mechanism for drivers to be able to use that information instead of, because yeah, by adding the additional check into a specific driver, then it is a lot harder to figure out we are splitting the config option where we check and we create two different paths that could go. The code path now it has two ways to reach that same thing, and I don't think it's a good idea.
Okay.
Maybe I'm not explaining it correctly, but let's say right now to use the direct URLs, there is a single path in the flow. But if we allow drivers to get the URL, then they also have to check for this additional option.
Right.
So I am more inclined to say to add to drivers a configuration option that just says I can do
Is it just me or did
No,
go?
focus
Oh,
not.
yeah,
We lost connection.
yeah. Actually, if I understand what he was trying to propose, yeah, or maybe we should wait for him to come back. But I actually agree that this is another way to do that. That maybe adding a driver option that says we are able to efficiently clone images across pools would be a good idea. That that is also an option. Yeah. So the code stays in one place, as he said. Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote it on IRC.
I do have to say though that this patch you've got in doesn't have any release notes. So you've got, at the very least, you must have release notes associated to it.
hi, I'm and I don't know
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you were able to. Oh yeah,
And now you're audible.
because I think that if we start allowing drivers to say that they can do the cross pool cloning efficiently, we may even be able to leverage it in other places. For example, the cache, the, the image cache that Cinder has for images, then we could also leverage it there and make it efficient for drivers like yours to do it as well.
Okay. So if you want me to, I could try to whip up a change that does that. That adds another driver option that those that are driver capability rather. And yeah, I could try to do that if you want me to. Okay. Yeah.
Well, that is my opinion. I don't know
Yeah.
the other
Well,
people what they
indeed.
think, but
I tend to agree with you, Gorka. You know, when I was reading this originally, I thought it does seem to me that this sort of it would certainly impact the glance image cache that we have for Cinder and how that works. So yeah, I tend to agree with you that leaving it all in the same place would be a good move. I do think we also, as I just mentioned when you were coming back on, we need release notes for this, whatever happens. I'm also curious to see, you know, do we need a spec and a blueprint for this one because it's such a change?
I don't know if we need a spec per se, but if we don't have a spec, we really do need documentation. Because one problem that we've faced in the past in Cinder is that we tend to make these changes as we go. And then there is no documentation, and the rest of the drivers don't know that this feature is available.
Yeah.
So I'm okay if there is not a spec, as long as we have it documented in the driver interface and our documentation so that other developers can use this feature.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I support that.
Okay, so I guess you can continue this discussion when Pete has a patch for the actual functionality. Moving on to the next topic, it is yoga known issues status. And this is by Brian.
Hey, yeah, so I just want to clean up the mess I made, basically. So I've got the, so there's a link to that Etherpad. I basically just copied out the known issues from the release notes. But what I wanted to do is just get a status update so that, and also I need to beg for a review. So, all right. So with the known issues, the first one had to do with when you import a backup record, if the record existed, the import would fail, but it would also delete the record, which kind of sucked. So I've got to patch up for that and master that was merged. So the yoga backport's proposed. So I just need stable reviews on that one. I guess I should put a note here.
I'll just share my screen so everyone can see as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, did I? Yeah, I didn't. Okay. Put the note. Okay, great. Right. So that, and I think that can probably go back fairly far because it's isolated to the backup service, so it doesn't affect a lot of other stuff, and it's probably annoying no matter what release you're using if this is happening. The other one, Sophia's not here because I think it's a holiday in Argentina today, so maybe we can pick these up at the mid-cycle. But basically, she's got two, I think they're Ceph related. No, one's Ceph and one's NFS. But she does have patches up, so if they need reviews, so if people could take a look. So that's line 13 and line 20, those two issues. And then is John Bernard here?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
hey. Okay. So I think, so you were working on the Cinder, the getting us out of C groups V1, and I think your status is that you wanted to discuss something at the mid-cycle, or
Yeah, that's actually that's a good idea. Yes, I'll add that to the Etherpad.
okay. All right. So then we've got that one, and then Gorka, I'm sorry, I lost the topic for all your patches. So Gorka's been working on a shitload of NVMe OF issues and has had patches up for a while. And I got the link to the bugs, but I lost the topic you were using to track these. And there might be multiple topics at this point.
Yeah, there are four topics, but one thing that happened in the middle is that the native multipath patch is progressing, and I think it's mostly ready for merge. So I will be rebasing all my changes on top of that one.
Okay. So do you want to so obviously we need to review this stuff and get it merged.
Yeah.
Do you want to like put
I'll add it here.
Yeah, so if you
I'll
could
add the
just add
patches
it,
here.
yeah, for which ones that to help people out in terms of ordering it, so that we get reviews because we got to get those things moving. And then the other thing you had was the encryption patch that wasn't mentioned as a known issue that is breaking FIPS. So
Yep.
that one, I think we should probably. I'm just going to add it here, even though it's not. Wasn't listed as a known issue. It's not really FIPS related, it's just the FIPS testing found this problem.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, that patch also fixes a bunch of connectors that were not compatible with encryption. So basically, encryption was broken there.
Yeah, so that's kind of a key. So it was an unknown issue, but it's certainly something we need to fix and backport. So we can put it here. And that one I did have a link to, but now I've got too many windows. All right.
We
So
also
anyway,
have a bug for a related issue that is fixed by this patch. We had a bug report for some encryption related operation that someone was trying to perform, was fixed by this patch. I will just try to find the bug and link it here.
okay, so that was basically these are priorities, so let's pay attention and review them and try to get this stuff done. That's all I had to say.
I will just stop sharing and have linked the Etherpad on the meeting channel, so everyone can please follow that and do some reviews on the patches. We have the next topic by John Bernard, and it's regarding the stable branches. He wants to do a release, and there are some open patches which I promised to review, but I still haven't. But I will let John Bernard.
Hey, yeah, we'd like to cut a stable release of the stable branches, and there are quite a few, especially on Wallaby, that have been unmerged. So if I could ask to have those looked at, if there are patches that you'd like to go into the stable branches for the next release, please take a look and try to move those forward. Else we'll make the release and we risk not having all of them in there. So yeah, take a look.
this is also related to the last Victoria release we did. So it had some patches that are still not released in the recent branches. So we decided to do a follow-up release uh, for these branches to keep them up to date regarding that. So it's better to get this release done first. I guess we can move on. The next topic is by Simon requesting for reviews on Spec.
Yeah, this one's been hanging around for a while since before Zed. We're getting close to spec freeze. I think we should just get everyone to have a quick look at it. I don't have a problem with it. I've plus two'd it already. I think the concerns that were raised have been addressed by Nicholas.
There is
So
no mic.
We can get a look at that before the mid-cycle, and then if there's anything, anybody has concerns, we can talk it out.
yeah, I think they don't want to even start coding until this spec is approved, which is fair enough because it's such a change. But again, close to spec freeze. That's it. That's it for me on that one.
I was just checking the deadlines for Spec freeze, and it's 24 June. I have a topic in the mid-cycle to discuss all the specs and if there are any concerns regarding them. But I will also add all the open specs that we had discussed during the PTG to today's meeting agenda. You can take a look after the meeting. The last, I'm not sure if it's topic by Adili, I think.
Yeah, this is just the review that I think Ryan mentioned before when he was going through there. So he joined it just in time to catch him to mention that. So that's the OS brick one that Gorka's working on. So I just wanted to make sure that it got some attention because we're waiting for it from the flip side. I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. I was just saying I have pasted the link in the meeting channel. So please review it so we can get FIPS enabled jobs in our gate. I think that's all for topics. We are in open discussion now.
I have a question that is, I don't know. So it is once again about the store pool driver and possible enhancements. Actually, it is something that I know it is the wrong way around, but something that we already have working with some clients, and I would like to I'd like to upstream it at some point. The thing is, Storpool has its own network protocol, and it needs some software installed on all the hypervisors and all the on the Cinder volume host, on the controller host and stuff like that. And since this is not always ideal scenario, we have developed some code that allows, with some configuration, a couple of more configuration variables specific to the store pool driver, that allows it to export volumes through iSCSI, either to hypervisors and other consumers, or as a separate setting, the Cinder volume service itself can attach volumes using iSCSI, can use the store pool API to ask it to export volumes to the. Should this need a blueprint and a spec, or can I just propose a change? Is it, I mean, it is basically a major-ish new feature that simplifies the deployment a lot in some scenarios. I don't think it should be controversial in any way. It does make the code just, it adds a couple more checks in some locations. But does it need a spec?
Sorry, I may be missing something. So your driver would be able to now do a different protocol at the
Yes.
same time simultaneously, or the users will choose one or the other?
Well, the code that we have written right now basically says use iSCSI for these hosts, and for everything else, use the store pool protocol. And I mean, for the code right now is configured on a host as the granularity, but it could be changed.
Yeah,
I mean,
what I
it
mean
could be
is,
changed by volume type or something like that. But
yeah,
yeah,
what I was trying to say is you're trying to achieve that they are able to change their deployments so they use only iSCSI, or you want to be able to do both protocols with the
it
same
depends.
backend?
It depends on the deployment. In some cases, it is
No,
difficult.
I mean, for a given deployment that would use this new feature, would your driver
Okay.
be only able to do iSCSI, or would the customer be able to say, connect node 1 using iSCSI, connect node 2 using a store pool?
The latter, yeah, it is the latter.
Yeah, that needs a spec because we don't currently support. As you know, drivers need to report their supported protocols, and they only report one supported protocol.
Right.
So
you're
now
saying
you
we
would be able to support two protocols, and they are completely different protocols. Why?
Okay, I think we lost Gorka again, but okay.
So we had a similar case when RBD wanted to try iSCSI, and we created a new driver for it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's also an option here.
Yeah, but I think for RBD it was a different case because I don't think they wanted to be able to do both simultaneously, right? If I remember correctly, the idea was not, I have a backend that supports two protocols and I want users to be able to connect the same volume through different ways.
Yeah.
You don't know.
I
think the idea has value for many backends. So let's say I have a more common case, a backend that has a iSCSI fiber channel. So maybe not all my nodes have HBAs, but if they have HBAs, I want them to connect using fiber channel. And if they don't, just use iSCSI, it's fine. You know what I mean? Right now, that's not possible. Right now, if I have an array that has fiber channel and iSCSI, I can only expose my volumes using one of the two.
Well, the thing is that the way this thing came along was that there was a customer cluster that had both Linux and Windows hosts as hypervisors, and the store pool client, the store pool network protocol client, only works on Linux. We do not have a Windows implementation yet, so we had to basically whip something up to allow them to attach the store pool volumes to the Windows host, and we kind of made use of the fact that the export volume, the create export method does not, okay, Cinder does not check, does not validate what we return in the create export method. So even though we have declared store pool as a supported protocol, it does not stop us from exporting a specific volume through iSCSI, and everything works further down the line there. There are absolutely no issues with anything. But yeah, I do get your point. I do get your point.
Well,
Now,
you may think that there are no issues, but if your backend, if you're using iSCSI and you're sharing targets, and the client has, for example, was running in Linux, and without automatic scans, you could be leaving leftover devices over there, because there are checks in Cinder code that checks what protocol the Cinder driver is using to do different things.
and you are sure that this checks the protocol and not the export?
Yep,
Sorry,
it
it
checks
is
the
really
driver
stupid.
protocol.
I'm sorry. It is really stupid for me to ask you whether you're sure about something like that. So yeah.
No.
Sorry.
It could be. It could be that it's checking the connection information, but I thought we were checking the driver and not the connection information. I would have to double check.
Okay. I mean, the truth is that as company policy, we are considering a change so that in future deployments, we only ever use iSCSI. So if you say that it would be more acceptable for the driver to have a configuration option that says use store pool or use iSCSI and report it accordingly, we could do that. We could do that.
Well,
If
you can do it that way with a configuration option, or you can do it with a
there's for
different
new
driver,
drivers. Yeah.
which is basically just a wrapper around the other one.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so obviously a new driver, even if a wrapper, would require a spec. What about the option? Would that also? I mean, now I'm just asking, so I know how to put it. Not anyway. If there is if we decide to add a configuration option to the driver to export all the volumes through iSCSI and not through our native protocol, would that also require a spec?
I don't think it would need a spec. What I don't know is if it would need a CI job specific for that protocol.
Oh,
You
it will certainly have one. In our third-party CI, it would certainly have one. Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure it would need a spec for that.
Yeah, usually
But
we only require specs if it's going to impact the main Cinder code. So basically, what you just need to do is file a blueprint in Launchpad, so that we can be aware that you're working on it, so that we can, because suddenly we'll need to review it. So that would be helpful. But so whichever way you go, just put in a blueprint in Launchpad and let Rajat know, so he can target it for whatever you think you can have it done.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
I'm just trying to understand one thing. So if we introduce the iSCSI support, protocol support for that driver, don't we require all the, like don't we need to inherit from the base iSCSI volume driver and implement things in a similar fashion that we do for iSCSI drivers?
Not really. All the base classes that we have in Cinder, most of them is just for the iSCSI one and things like that, is for the benefit of the developer. It doesn't really matter if they inherit. If they are not going to use anything from there, I don't think it would really matter much. Or am I missing something in that case?
I'm not sure. I thought it would be a like they would need to write custom code for iSCSI in the driver that would again introduce a lot of complexity in the same driver. I was thinking more in terms of like I don't understand the issue with creating a new driver and keeping both different drivers as different backends, and the customer can use any of the backends as they require.
Well, the thing is that the drivers will be absolutely identical in all their actual functionality, that is creating volumes, deleting volumes, cloning, everything will use absolutely the same code. It will map to the same code to the Sorpo API. The only change ever is in the create export method. I mean, when with our current driver, the create export method does nothing, and the connecting a volume, the connect volume method, returns a record that says this is a store pool volume, and OSBrick knows how to handle that. Now, if we go the iSCSI way, the create export method will return an iSCSI export structure, and again, OSBrick knows how to handle that. So everything else in the driver is exactly the same. I don't. Yeah. I know that there is an iSCSI based driver, but unless somebody says that I am missing something in the way Cinder operates, if Cinder really needs to know something about the iSCSI exports, then I don't.
Just a change in the like creating the export, then I think it should be fine. Then.
Yeah, the big thing will be to have the CI specifically for iSCSI, and then hopefully that would catch it if we are missing something.
Yeah, at the end of the meeting, I'll just stop the recording.